Hey guys, today we are going to look at a very strange object, a jar which has magical properties. This anti-gravity jar is at least 300 years old and is displayed at the Museum of Kanchipuram in India. It looks like it's being made of wax, but it is made completely out of clay. It does not have a lid anywhere, so how do we use it? On the top, it has holes, but you cannot pour water through these top holes. The only way to pour water is to hold the jar upside down, and you can see 5 holes at the bottom, and you can pour water through these holes. Now, you can see the water disappearing, but if you put the jar in an upright position, the water does not drain through the bottom holes. This is why it is called the anti-gravity jar. Now, notice that if the jar is kept upside down, the water is also not draining through the top holes. How did the water magically disappear? Where did the water go? The only way to get the water back is by using the spout. All the water we added through the bottom can be retrieved only through the spout. This jar is about 300 years old, but similar jars were used even 2,000 years ago in India. What kind of technology was used many centuries ago to create this magical effect? Remember, this jar is made of clay, so there's no way to put a rubber stopper or a cork inside because when you bake this clay jar in a furnace or a kiln, the rubber or cork would have turned into ashes. Also, if you shake it, there's nothing moving inside. It has no moving parts at all. This jar proves that real magic and supernatural abilities existed in ancient times. This is why the jar defies the law of gravity. Things like this exist. I've even shown you a supernatural road that defies gravity in the US. If you drop a ball in this anti-gravity road, the ball will roll uphill against the law of gravity. Now, let's see how this magic jar was really made. I've built the same model here, but I've made it on a transparent container so you can see how it works. On the bottom of this jar, I've placed a funnel in an inverted position and I've attached a 90-degree bend at the end of the nozzle here. So when I invert the jar and pour water through these holes, the water goes through the funnel but does not stay there and gets released into the jar. But when I put the jar back in the upright position, the water cannot get back into the funnel. The water stays around the funnel and comes back out only through the spout. This is exactly how the 300-year-old magic jar works. Or is it? We have conveniently forgotten that the anti-gravity jar had holes on the top as well. So if I make holes on the top of this container, will that complete the model? No, it actually ruins everything because if I fill water through the bottom holes, the water will drain through the top holes. Remember, the original jar did not leak through the top holes when it was being filled from the bottom. So I had to add another funnel at the top with a 90-degree bend to complete the model. And now, if I pour water through the bottom holes, it will not hit the top holes and will remain in the main chamber and can be poured out only through the spout. So you can see how complicated this design actually is. And why were these holes made at the top of the magic jar? Just to confuse us? No, remember, this jar has no lid. Without these holes, there would be no air circulation inside the jar. If someone left it with water inside, the water will have no room for evaporation without these holes. So the top holes are absolutely necessary. It shows how clever people were many centuries ago. Now, everything I've used is made of plastic and I'm able to glue the pieces together, and I can also open the container and make changes. But the original jar is one piece and is completely made of clay. When you bake a clay model like this in a furnace or a kiln, the clay will expand and get deformed. Any slight change or just one crack inside will completely ruin the magic effect of the jar. And you can see how the jar has a shiny green glazed appearance. This color and shine has remained intact even after repeatedly using it for 300 years. Who made these amazing jars and why? These jars were made in a small village called Karigiri. This is why these jars are known as Karigiri jars. Potters in this village designed many ingenious clay objects which baffled general public. Many centuries ago, Karigiri was the center of these magic items. It is said that they built about 100 different magic containers, and each one gave a different effect. Today, these clay jars are no longer made in that village and are displayed only in museums. Out of 100 different types of magic containers, only half a dozen exist today. The most interesting jar was called the Akshaya Patra, a jar that never runs out of liquid. This is a metal replica of that jar. If you pour a small glass of water into this jar magically turns it into wine. And let me empty this completely. But this jar is inexhaustible. This is what the term Akshaya Patra means. It has a never ending supply inside of it. In Greek mythology, there is an inexhaustible vessel called cornucopia, which can never become empty. This jar is the real deal. Now, I can get some more wine out of it. And I've emptied this completely now, but if I leave it on the table and just wait, it will refill by itself. Modern magicians often use this container and call it a lada bowl. The word lada actually comes from Sanskrit language. We still call it lota, which means a cup or a vessel. And you can see again, I can pour some more wine. These Lada bowls originated in India nearly 2,000 years ago, and British magicians took it from street magicians of India just 200 years ago. This is a very clever trick, and it is still very effective on spectators. Many people get completely confused by this Lada bowl. So how does the Lada bowl work? This jar actually has two chambers inside. When it looks like I completely empty this jar, there is another secret chamber which is still holding some liquid. This is how the jar actually looks inside. And if you observe carefully, you can see that there is a small hole near the top of the jar. There is also a small hole at the bottom. So when I fill this jar, both chambers will have the same level of water. But if I close the top hole, there would be no atmospheric pressure acting on the liquid inside the secret chamber. This means that the water from the secret chamber will not go back into the main chamber through the bottom hole. This is why I'm able to close this hole and pretend to empty out all the liquid while the secret chamber still has a lot of liquid inside. Now, understand that these magic jars were used more than 2,000 years ago in ancient India. This means that ancient people not only understood the concept of atmospheric pressure and its effect on liquids, but also used it for entertainment more than 2,000 years ago. I hope you enjoyed watching these ancient magic jars. I'm Praveen Mohan. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and also click on the bell button to get all the updates. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.